Hello, welcome to a new week. We are doing some lessons with spheres over the next couple of days, and then we will be talking about similar solids, and then that will basically wrap up chapter 11 for us. So today, starting with spheres, I wanted to go over some terminology with you, just some vocab that you're going to see. So with a sphere, if a plane intersects a sphere in more than one point, it creates a circle. So you can see this plane intersecting and creating this cross section of a circle here. Now, if it just so happens that that plane goes through the center of the sphere, which is also the center of the circle, that's what we call the great circle. So if you think about planet Earth, this would be the equator. That forms a great circle that splits our sphere of the planet into the northern and the southern hemisphere. Now, if you're pretty good with geography, maybe you can think of another example of a great circle that splits our Earth into the western and eastern hemispheres. So maybe you could think of that. All right. Now, when we are talking about the circumference of a sphere, we are talking specifically about the circumference of a great circle. So you'll see circumference of a sphere. That would not be referring to this smaller circle that's created here. It has to be the one here that would be essentially the equator. Okay. It has to go through the center of the sphere. All right. And then that last part we already brought up. Okay. So think about splitting our sphere into hemispheres if we're talking a great circle. Okay. I didn't mean to move that guy. Let me go to an example then of how we calculate surface area of our sphere here. The surface area is 4 times the product of pi and the square of the radius of the sphere, to put it in like mathy terms. Okay. Our formula here then is going to be 4 pi r squared. So it's kind of nice that we're just doing pi r squared like we do for a normal circle, multiplying it by 4. So if you want to pause now, find the surface area of this sphere, and then unpause when you're ready to see the solution. Okay, so surface area is equal to 4 pi r squared. I can just plug all of that into my calculator. What I do want to make sure is that I'm using the actual radius of this sphere. Here I'm given the diameter is 10. That means the radius is 5. So that's always something for us to look out for, because we can use diameter or radii here, and we just have to pay attention to which is which. So the surface area is going to be equal to 4 pi times my radius 5 squared. Okay, so you could plug that in as 25. You can multiply the 25 by 4, and really we're just then taking 100 times pi, or you plug it into your calculator just like this to get the answer, which would be, I'm going to use my approximate here, approximately 314.159, which rounds up to 16 meters squared, because we are talking about a surface area here. So we have square units. Another thing to just keep in mind when you're plugging these into our Google form later on is that you don't want to include the units here. I just want you to include the number so it can tell you if you got it right or not. So on to the next one, volume. And again, we've got a new formula here, 4 pi r cubed, which is a little trickier, because not only do we have to do a different exponent here, but we're going to have to use maybe the fraction feature to make sure that we're getting the answer correct. So find the volume of this sphere. And again, if you want to pause, and I will work out the solution with you after you try it. Okay, so if you pause, the surface area the volume formula here, 4/3 pi r cubed, where we are plugging in a radius of 6 meters. Okay, no tricks there with the diameter. So in my calculator, 4/3 times pi times that 6 cubed. Okay, so we're going to have to use the little caret button on our calculator to get that. And again, if you want to actually plug this 4/3 in as a fraction, the shortcut to get to that is you use alpha and then the y equals button brings you to your shortcut menu. Now, if you don't have the ability to do the fraction feature on here, then just make sure you use parentheses on your calculator when you do 4 divided by 3, and then use your pi button. And then you will do 6 caret 3. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do that in my calculator, just all in one step here, typing in 4/3 pi in parentheses 6 cubed. All right. I got for the volume approximately 904.778, which rounds up to 78, and that would be meters cubed because, again, here's a volume, so we would deal with cubic units. So hopefully that helps. Give the problems today a little bit of a try and let me know if you have any questions about those.